and like, yeah, it's cool to be able to transform and see the move pool, but okay, you turn into the Solgaleo, you feel underwhelming when you don't have the weakness policy boost. You turn into something like the Calyrex Shadow Rider, well, you've got Astral Barrage and Pollen Path. Like, Astral Barrage is kind of solved at this point. And yeah, this established lead from Nathan coming right back out is what I like to see. There it is! It's finally here. We've spoken into existence. Nihilego taking the field right away.
So yeah, we had two Pokemon on here who probably have good matchup with Kyurem. You know, I guess we'll see.
Typing-wise, it's looking real hot for Zac's side of the field, but it's a little bit obvious, right? Like, it's kind of screaming like, I am going to either Dazzling Gleam or Meteor Beam you, and the Sableye at this point just gets its pick of which one it wants to fake out. There's no way to avoid that. A Dynamax would be rather juicy to try and avoid that, but you are making a big commitment turn one to a Dynamax, and I think, particularly in the Nihilego's case, right, like Meteor Beam is just better than Max Rockfall because it's a huge move and you get to use that item as well. So the power up would be something to consider, but obviously if you get faked out and then just hit afterwards, real bad time there.
Yeah, also makes it really dangerous to try to actually use that super effective attack, right? Where if you suddenly are missing your item and you're charging up that Meteor Beam, you're going to have a really bad time, so...
And Nihilego has a horrible matchup into Max Quake, which is a move that has been revealed already from this white Kyurem, so maybe the Nihilego thinks, I'm not the one, and lets the Tapu Fini take over with the Dazzling Gleam. But once again, Kyurem does decide to Dynamax on the opening turn of the game. No real shock there. I think it's the focal point of this team. It does the most damage by a country mile, and you just need to get the ball rolling. Like you said, these are going to be quick games, and knockout every single turn is so important. Sableye, though, not playing around with Fake Out this turn, just immediately going with the trick. That is the Nihilego receiving the Iron Ball, the power being taken away. Oh, if it's gone for the certain move that it needs to, it's going to get really nasty if the Meteor Beam comes through, but not even afforded the opportunity. Just the speed boost, or the speed changed immediately by the Iron Ball, and then, yeah, taken out very, very quickly. Tapu Fini's going to struggle to fire back.
And we were so excited to see it, and then there it goes. Oh.
You tried. You do get the award for trying. A Dazzling Gleam, though, even after that boost from the Max Quake, doing a good chunk of damage, probably a good confirmation, of course, on that Tapu Fini's item. We've seen it lock into attacks every single time, and it's nice. I mean, Sableye, back when I played, didn't have a weakness, and now it does have the one weakness which Tapu Fini can expose. But that Nihilego, yeah, quite wise here to be able to just get knocked out, I think. Really well played by Nathan to say, that's the Pokemon I'm scared of, right? If for some reason I don't get the knockout here, then I'm taking away your Meteor Beam ability.
And we get some interesting information too. I think I'd assume that we wouldn't see both of Zac's restricted Pokemon just because they kind of have to come out as a duo. But now we have it confirmed. We've seen 3 Pokemon. So the first time we've seen him not choose to bring both of his big guys. So we'll have to see. You know, this is a more defensive setup now, and he's already kind of behind on the Pokemon score. But yeah, I mean, 2 relatively weakened Pokemon here, so we'll have to see if, you know, Tapu Fini will have to pretend it's one of the restricted legendary Pokemon instead of the globally permitted ones.
It's going to have to put a shift in if it wants to get knockouts here, and those shifts are going to be made even harder. The trick continuing to go, so taking the power-up away has then been tricked over onto the Tapu Fini, taking away that Choice Specs that was doing the huge amount of damage, so it's going to be asked even more now. Another Max Quake into that Tapu Fini, not there for the damage, mainly there for the special defense boost, which is going to be huge. Now there's no Choice Specs to try and burst through that and really negate those early boosts. These are going to start to add up. Tapu Fini is taking the Dazzling Gleam option. The Sableye's getting low, but Kyurem's looking quite comfortable taking those.
Yeah, very creative way for Sableye to keep itself on the field there, where taking those Choice Specs away allows it to survive the attack, and you know, an item that Grimstar probably doesn't want. So, yep. You know, there used to be a thing, right, where you deliberately have a choice item on Sableye just to antagonize people, and Sableye was able to slow something down with Iron Ball, and now has another item it would love to give away.
I'm sure it would love to pass that over to the Grimmsnarl, and of course take away the Light Clay as well, which means if the following screens come through, then it's going to be even harder, right, to stay in this game. Like, Reflect, I mean, I don't even think the game is going to go 5 turns, let alone the 8 that Light Clay provides. But overall, you know, it's just a really easy swap. Sableye not swapping the item this turn, though, swapping the position on the board. Don't think it really matters against something like the Dazzling Gleam, but it could be really important for the Spirit Break. Another Max Quake heading into the Tapu Fini. Not enough for the knockout here, but being able to cause some problems as the special defense continues to rise over on both Pokemon. Even though they're both weak to Fairy, it's still a whole ask as Sableye does finally get felled.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps Nathan, assuming that Grimmsnarl would be quicker than Tapu Fini instead of slower, get the double knockout easily there.
Yeah, but the way that the turn order played out with the Dazzling Gleam going first, meaning the ally switch completely null and void at the end of the day as Spirit Break just directs to the only remaining target. So a really good turn here for Zac. Even though he's left behind one of his restricteds, he's still managed to find a Pokemon advantage.
Yeah, not too bad, right? And now we'll get to see both of his Pokemon before he has to commit to how he wants to play the rest of this game. Tapu Fini, obviously very weakened and holding an item that's not useful, but still, potentially situations where, maybe you could switch it out, bring it back in, put it in a more favorable position, especially, depending on what's left, right, where it's a strange group of Pokemon. Urshifu, if somehow you could catch it with Tapu Fini, would be great. Ditto probably doesn't really want to turn into either of these Pokemon.
Nope.
Talonflame, I don't know if... I don't know what to expect at all, frankly.
Ditto would be a horrible selection here, and it's coming in. Yeah, that is probably not the one. It has chosen to come in and become the Grimmsnarl, though, so maybe feeling like the screens is something you want to steal. I'd say that is definitely better than the Tapu Fini right now, but it still doesn't feel great, right? The Calyrex coming in is going to be the fastest thing on the field, and may just be in a position to start trying to tidy up this game. As Ditto's Imposter turns it into the Grimmsnarl. That does mean, though, that the Grimmsnarl, moveset is revealed, if that's a concern. But you've still got a Pokemon disadvantage, right? And that Ditto is now just Grimmsnarl.
Yeah, I guess the positive here is that Tapu Fini is so low, he has potentially just an easy boost for the Calyrex. Ditto, I guess, if you do feel like you're losing the game, at least you do for sure know all Grimmsnarl's moves now. But, maybe as the option, start Spirit Breaking the opposing Grimmsnarl, start getting it in range where maybe it could also become a knockout from the Calyrex, since it's going to have a lot to do here.
Whenever we sit down the casting desk, we seem to get Battle Grimmsnarl, who comes in and wants to deal the most damage possible, which is not its job. That is like punching above and beyond to show off to your manager a little bit here. Finally, though, a Dynamax coming through from Zac's side, being able to try and answer this. But neither of these are particularly appealing candidates to me. And there's... I'm just going to say, wasn't expecting it. It's the Grimmsnarl.
Yeah, I guess it has to be with Tapu Fini being so low. We've seen Dynamax Incineroar a few times, but this is a new one.
This is definitely new, as Calyrex's Astral Barrage will get the knockout onto the Tapu Fini. Not a big concern there, but nowhere near the Dynamax Grimmsnarl, things I wasn't planning on talking about this weekend. Certainly being able to try and cause some problems, as Ditto, does Spirit Break, and that's a surprisingly decent little chunk of damage.
Yeah, we'll have to see the totally expected Max Darkness coming in here.
Max Darkness into the Calyrex is going to bring it down to its Focus Sash. That is a very smart play. We talked about how good it was to get Max Darkness on the Incineroar, and we have to give the same credit to the Grimmsnarl, right? You can't ignore that is a very smart move in the context of this game. Zac digging deep with this Grimmsnarl. It does get to get a partner next to it, and it's going to be the Shadow Rider Calyrex, so kind of... I actually quite like this for Zac. The awkward thing is, the Calyrex is facing off against the opposing Calyrex, but it's in a much better position, and I think Zac might have this one kind of locked up. What beats the Grimmsnarl right now? Yeah,
there's some awkward information that both of them know, where that Max Darkness has to be coming from something, and that something is probably not making the Calyrex and Zac side of the field super excited either. But while you're dealing with the Calyrex, then what happens, right? Where I just feel like the Grimmsnarl probably has too much health, where I think too many resources have to be devoted. But I think this could also come down to which the two Calyrex move first here, because them getting to bonk each other would be a big difference.
Yeah, the Calyrex on Zac's side not trying to play that game in this turn, though. Landing the Protect, landing it gets to hit the Protect. Opposing Calyrex does use Astral Barrage. This is going to get a little bit more damage down on the Grimmsnarl because of the Grim Nay boost in the previous turn. Doesn't really look that appealing, though, as Ditto Grimmsnarl form follows up with the Spirit Break, and where the targeting goes from this Grimmsnarl, I think, is going to be really important. It's another Max Darkness, and that will be heading towards the Calyrex. I think it's going to be enough to get the knockout there, and I like this play now. You're going single target Astral Barrage from Zac's side of the field into an opposing Ditto Grimmsnarl, which has a much lower health pool.
Yeah, it was a pretty good turn on the other side of the field too, right? Where I don't think it's enough, where I think Zac's got this one, but that was the most he could have gotten out of the turn, right? Didn't get baited by trying to take down the Calyrex, but it's a Pokemon that can only single target against two Pokemon, one of which is likely holding a Focus Sash. It's tough to make up for that.
Yep, and Calyrex landing the Pollen Puff into that Grimmsnarl, no problem there. Ditto, yeah, quite easy to drop just because of its amount of health. The Spirit Break, though, does connect into the opposing Dynamax Grimmsnarl, and that is being felled, but it really doesn't stop the inevitable in the next turn, right, where Calyrex just gets to attack again and take out the Ditto Grimmsnarl.
Yeah, we are about to see a Grimnay, although you got to give Ditto some credit, you know, it was the tinier Grimmsnarl, but it proved to be the best Grimmsnarl of all.
It did foil the opposing Grimmsnarl, but the job really wasn't dealing with Grimmsnarl on Zac's side of the field. He just needed to get that Calyrex out of the way. And Max Darkness, of course, the smart play as well, right? Max Darkness would have gone through any potential protect. So even if you tried to hang around on the Focus Sash, honestly, for this game, I'm going to say it. I'm going to see how you feel about it. Dynamax Grimmsnarl MVP.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And I think it's really valuable, too, because we kind of keep seeing these weird pairings, right, where it's like, well, I'd love to, you know, Dynamax my Restricted, but then I stop having spread attacks, and I'd really prefer not to do that. So, yeah, the support Pokemon supporting with the best status condition of Faint seems like the strategy for today.
And Calyrex will take this Pollen Puff to make sure it just knocks out this Grimmsnarl, and Zac Emerzian will be going up 1-0 in this set very, very quickly. I mean, it was a prompt game. I don't think there was too many tricks there. We did get to see full Dynamaxes, though, from both trainers, which kind of shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, especially the Pokemon that did Dynamax, right? But yeah, I think this may be one of the most useful, like, between game 1-2 periods in Pokemon history, where I feel like it's just so hard to read accurately what 4 Pokemon either of them were going to bring without seeing a game 1 first. That I think that they can both make a lot more educated choices now, because I think like the leads I think were like somewhat predictable. I think that you know, it's possible that you know, Zac was pretty surprising by not choosing to use his pairing, but you know, Nathan kind of did what he's been doing. I think both of them now can kind of like settle into the match a little bit, even though, you know, with the best of 3, I mean, you can only settle in so much, right? Not many errors left to make before you're out of a tournament, but yeah, there's a lot to take in.
I think what's a little bit concerning from Nathan's side, right, is he talked about in his interview after top 8 how he was concerned about the Solgaleo, and he just lost game 1 without the Solgaleo making an appearance. So that kind of gives Zac a little bit of wiggle room, right, to just go back to the comfort pick, just bulldoze. Yeah, obviously you're playing some really horrible speed games when it comes to dealing with something like the Sableye. But at the end of the day, if you don't have an immediate answer, which I don't know what particularly answers the Solgaleo from the selection that we saw, then it could just run away with the game. You know, gets his weakness policy boost, correct targeting every single turn, correct boosting from the combination of Max Steel Spike and Max Quake, and you could be in a lot of trouble if you're in Nathan's shoes here.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like, I kind of love not picking the Solgaleo when you know your opponent like views it as a challenging matchup, just because I think that really does complicate the team preview for this turn. But yeah, I kind of wonder what the answer is, right? Because he mentioned, Solgaleo and Zacian are tough matchups, so I've adjusted the rest of my team to deal with that. And I don't know what I saw there that like is the solution to Solgaleo, right? Like, I would call that bluff if I was on the other side.
Yeah, and the Solgaleo seems like an easy switch to move to, right? Because there's a Pokemon that did absolutely nothing on Zac's side of the field, and that is the Nihilego. Yes, it got caught by the Sableye, but it didn't play the game. It didn't contribute at all. So seems like an easy sub, right? Like, you just go, all right, well, Nihilego stays at home, I bring in my Solgaleo, and I can play a completely different mode that I know my opponent is uncomfortable with.
Yeah, I like that too. I think one other good point there too is the other Pokemon you mentioned in the Sableye on the other side of the field. I feel like, you know, in the games that we've seen him win, the Sableye's kind of just stuck around and been this nuisance for a long time. It hit a decent amount of turns that game. You know, everything had to go in the trick sale, but I don't feel like really did that much. Like, it was annoying, but not like effective.
Once again, I'll be honest, I was underwhelmed by the impact of Ally Switch. Like, it's a move that has had a lot of people talking, and a lot of people do not like the move. But here you're showing that, like, it sometimes just doesn't pay off, especially when you're facing down spread attackers, right? You know there's a couple in there in Tapu Fini and the Shadow Rider Calyrex. Yeah, I mean, particularly when you're taking a knockout and you're just getting the follow-up Spirit Break anyway, feels like a really bad Ally Switch, and that's something that Joe called out earlier when we were looking at this team, that comes a point where what else are you doing? And that's always been the problem with Sableye, right? Like, once you're not fake outing, that's one turn. You know, maybe you can quash something. Once you've already got a speed advantage, you don't need to Will-O-Wisp. You're left with Ally Switch, and it feels bad sometimes.
Yeah, because that was kind of the thing that happened there, right? Is I mean, it looked like a really bad Ally Switch, right? Because it didn't do anything. But the problem is also all of the other moves would not have done anything either. I mean, you can't fake out.
Yep.
I mean, Trick. I mean, you give was it Grimmsnarl an item it doesn't want as much, but like it just Dynamaxed anyway, so it would have ignored the choice specs. And then you Quash, but it doesn't matter because the way it played out, same thing would have happened. So I mean, I guess Quash would have been a little better, just like hope something changes, but yeah.
I don't know about that one. I really don't know if that was... It was just out of options, and at the end of the day, you know, you need a support Pokemon. Like Grimmsnarl always feels, and I like the recent Grimmsnarls that we've been seeing, right? Set up the screens, cool. But if you don't need the screens, or you've already set up the correct screen for what's on the board already, Spirit Break does, I mean, not only chip damage, but continues to lower special attack. So if you are facing off against these special attackers, which are very, very prominent right now, you know, not only do you get the light screen up, but you do get to continue by just Spirit Breaking every single turn. Pokemon that doesn't want to be caught with Spirit Break is going to be this Urshifu. And this is a very interesting pivot. I feel like Urshifu in a lead is something we don't often see. It feels like the closer, and this is very aggressive to get it out this early.
Yeah, I mean, especially because we see a Pokemon on the other side, which I think is kind of a key element of why Urshifu has become so much less popular recently, where Tapu Fini, you know, not the most common Pokemon, but certainly increased in usage, and it just makes it so miserable to be Urshifu, especially because it does have that boosted Dazzling Gleam, right? So it doesn't even have to, like, guess right about, you know, what target it wants a single target, where, you know, it's just Focus Sash on the other Pokemon, so, like, the spread value is really high here.
Yeah, and whatever switches in is going to get hurt as well. We know that Tapu Fini has the choice specs. There's no way to take those away, and I don't see a safe switch in, right? Kyurem, not a safe switch in. Arguably, the only safe switch in is Ditto, because it would then become the Tapu Fini in this instance. Actually, board positioning here could have been way different, right? Like if the Urshifu was facing down against the Nihilego, that just becomes a very different play. And that is something that, you know, I think makes this game so difficult. But Tapu Fini kind of done its job by being threatening enough, and maybe this switch is going to be absolutely free of charge. Seems like the board seems pretty okay from Nathan's point of view here.
Yeah, I mean, the strategy is just don't be scared, right? Go in.
Yeah, be the bigger man, and Gigantamax or Urshifu, not what I was expecting, but clearly this is a niche part of his team and something he's going to have to play quite wisely around. That said, the Shadow Rider Calyrex moving first with an Astral Barrage. Not going to be threatening knockouts immediately, I don't think, but getting good damage and making sure things are softened up, of course, for this Urshifu. The Meteor Beam coming through for the Nihilego, so this is the first time we've actually seen it do something, Scott.
I'm very excited. I'm rooting for it.
All right, let's see what it can do. There's the special attack boost. There's the power up, so it is basically taking on that Lunala job, but getting the same type attack bonus as Meteor Beam connects into the Shadow Rider Calyrex, not getting a knockout and not even getting it down to the Focus Sash, as Urshifu retaliates with a Max Ooze. That Grimmsnarl getting really, really hurt on the way in here, and an easy pickup as well for that Shadow Rider Calyrex, which just got a special attack boost. Confirmation of the Poison Jab. I really like this adaptation. It looked bleak, but the Poison Jab there, then the Max Ooze, means this Urshifu is able to quite handily deal with this Tapu Fini and Grimmsnarl.
Yeah, maybe you focus more and you go, you know, I gotta worry about your dark type attacks and stuff. Yeah, you switch from one fairy Pokemon to another, even though the switch happened, you'll maintain the same weakness. And yeah, I mean, I kind of love the guts just to the Gigantamax Urshifu there, where, yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough thing to do. You know, especially, you know, turn one of the game, you don't know much about what your opponent has, but just kind of saying, yo, I don't think you have good enough answers to Urshifu, so I'm going in.
Yeah, and the Nihilego is pretty much weakened as well. I think after the special attack boost, that's an easy pickup from Astral Barrage. I mean, this is a double easy pickup for Astral Barrage, but it's going to save that for later. Not respecting it. Oh, I like this. The Ditto coming in place of that Calyrex Shadow Rider, becoming the Nihilego. And guess what? That Nihilego has access to, guess what? Poison type moves, which are going to be very problematic, as yeah, the Sucker Punch doesn't even get to connect as Nihilego back to the Power Gem.
Yeah, it's kind of in a rough spot now, and this is going to hurt.
Yeah, the Urshifu making sure it gets an easy knockout here on the Nihilego. Critical hit. Oh, what a surprise from Urshifu. Doesn't really need it. Nothing to get excited about there. But the Nihilego shift, limited at best.
Yeah, kind of a nice play too. And one of the things that's sort of unfortunate about Ditto versus Nihilego is normally you can't use Meteor Beam because you don't have the power, but at least it gets the boost from the Meteor Beam because Nihilego did it for it.
Yeah, it comes in, takes all of the stats as well. And this is just a really treacherous matchup for the two fairies. On paper, they should beat the Urshifu, but you've got a Pokemon that's faster than you, with access to poison type moves, and you've got another Pokemon that's also faster than you with access to a poison type move. So double poison type not what I was expecting to be commentating this weekend, but in a really great position to push us to a Game 3.
Yeah, this is not looking like a Pokemon that's afraid of the type chart to me.
No, because it knows it's faster, and it knows it's just able to do a whole lot more damage. I do not think the Tapu Fini is going to be afforded the opportunity, particularly this one, right? It's a frailer, faster Tapu Fini that's all about the damage. And yes, a lot of times you think Tapu Fini can take hits and switch into things. I don't know if this one can. There is one way to take hits a little bit better, though, and that's going to be the Dynamax.
Yeah, I mean, this is good for trying to survive attacks, but completely negates the effect of the item now.
Right, the item completely taken away, but is the damage trade-off worth it? And that's the question that Zac is going to be asking as he proceeds through the rest of this turn. Tapu Fini, now the Dynamax. Grimmsnarl, being a little bit safer. The light screen, I do like that, but of course you are facing down a physical attacker as well. Ditto going for the Power Gem, sorry, Nihiligo going for the Power Gem. Easy pickup on the Grimmsnarl.
And that Beast Boost!
Yeah, the Beast Boost coming through as well. So that's now the boost from earlier with the Meteor Beam and the Beast Boost onto the speed. Don't know if it needs that one, but Urshifu doesn't care about that light screen as it just max oozes into the Tapu Fini.
And Tapu Fini taking that surprisingly well.
Yeah, Tapu Fini taking that one really nicely. Special attacks going up. If you leave this Nihiligo unchecked, it's going to cause some big problems as Max Starfall does come into the Urshifu slot. Yeah, even with the Dynamax, you're not going to be able to take that one. And this game is swinging very, very quickly in both trainers' favor, really. Like, it's back and forth every single turn. I will say, that Ditto turned into the Nihiligo, rather concerning right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you're looking at these teams, you know, oh, what if Ditto becomes a superpowered Nihiligo? Is not like your first concern. But yeah, this Ditto is snowballed really hard for a non-restricted Pokemon. And yeah, I mean, there's still the option that both the Pokemon remaining are of similar power levels, right? And it makes it very difficult to target down that Ditto because there's just so many Pokemon in the field that need to go.
And the Calyrex could come in here for Nathan as well and provide that like little bit of assistance with Astral Barrage. Doesn't need to do that much to put stuff in range, just for the Sludge Bombs to be able to maybe take a knockout on Tapu Fini and go from there. So the Kyurem will be shown off as the fourth Pokemon though, so the game is kind of revealed a little bit. But Zac's going to be in the same position, right? Like he has to reveal his last Pokemon here. That's the Calyrex, but at the end of the day, you know, that Nihiligo is still, I mean, Ditto, is still the fastest thing on the field by quite some way.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the fun thing here too, right? Where, yeah, it's just not something you normally have to consider. There's a ton of damage being threatened. I guess the one positive thing is it could really only use, you know, Sludge Bomb and then whatever that mystery attack is. Or it's not necessarily Sludge Bomb because we haven't seen that either, right? But like whatever its two attacks are other than Meteor Beam.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think it's Sludge Bomb, but I think we want to see the confirmation. I'm a Sludge Bomb aficionado. I think that's really important. But the fact we didn't see it last turn, and you know, the Power Gem, an easy pickup here onto the the Grimmsnarl seems like the smart play. Have to see what Nihiligo goes for this turn. I think the Nihiligo's moveset is going to be kind of the deciding factor in this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fun factor, right, where, didn't know before he transformed, probably, so I'm sure it was a surprise either way.
Well, Zac keeping this Calyrex safe this turn with a Protect. Calyrex not going to take any damage from either side of the field. Ditto keeps going for the Power Gem, so I'm starting to not believe in the Sludge Bomb coming through. Ancient Power into the Calyrex, not going to be able to do the required amount of work. Tapu Fini going on the offensive. There's the Max Geyser landing into that Ditto. You know the Ditto doesn't have a Focus Sash, and that's an easy knockout. So now it's just this double restricted pair coming in for Nathan in the back. But this Tapu Fini has been putting in quite a shift, I'm going to be honest, as the Dynamax choice.
Yeah, I was not sure what to expect from him, but yeah, I mean, it turned out that there wasn't quite as much damage being threatened the other way as we thought, where that Power Gem coming in on Tapu Fini all but confirms that there wasn't a poison-type attack there, because, yeah, I mean, certainly the Dynamax Pokemon not likely to switch out, so it's not as, not like there was a prediction there.
It's very strange to see a Nihiligo without the Poison Jab, Sludge Bomb, my apologies, and let the Urshifu be the poison attack carrier. Very unique choice, but it seems to be it really works in Zac's favor now, right? Like, he didn't give away the Sludge Bomb over to the Ditto, and that means his Tapu Fini is looking pretty safe. I mean, the Tapu Fini really could threaten an easy knockout on this Kyurem here, and I think it's probably feeling pretty good, but Calyrex uses Imprison, and no Astral Barrage coming from I mean, that's just a big problem right now.
Yeah, that's a huge swing. We'll have to see if Tapu Fini can pick up a knockout and maybe free that move back up.
Yeah, Tapu Fini making sure the knockout comes through onto the opposing Calyrex, and that just leaves the Kyurem up against this Tapu Fini, right? This Tapu Fini is going to get its item back in play, and the Calyrex as well can also just help soften it up. I mean, Kyurem's got a whole lot of work to do, and in the successes we've seen for Nathan, you know, his Kyurem has been Dynamax. That's been the focal point. That's been the win con. And not being able to do that this time because he did commit to the Gigantamax over onto the Urshifu may come back to bite him a little bit here. Calyrex with the Astral Barrage, able to, of course, fire that into the Kyurem. Single target isn't going to be enough for the knockout, but unless this Kyurem can get some funny business going on, I don't think there's a way it wins. The Calyrex avoids it anyway. Tapu Fini just absolutely taking that one like a champ. But Tapu Fini Moonblasts to tidy up this game, so being put back into its regular fairy-type moves, showing that there is obviously varied options between it. Zac Emerzian will be advancing on to the finals here in Vancouver. Didn't even need the Soul